Vrittis Vasudeva.
Take a minute and just try to either bring to our mind some aspect of the Supreme Lord, your Ishtadevata, or just make an attempt to abide in that state of witnessing awareness. It's Sakshi Bhava, aware of all thoughts, all sensations and perceptions, yet somewhat aloof and untouched by all of them. या देवी सर्वभूतेषु मातृरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः. Namaste. So the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we have completed nearly 2/3 of the Bhagavad Gita second chapter now, and this is one of the long chapters. And now we are almost in the process of coming to that next phase of the teachings. So far, the teachings that was given, we were taught that that nature of karma yoga was taught. So now that topic is going to change. There's the topic of karma yoga. So basically, in the topic of karma yoga, just to summarize, we discussed about how to function effectively, the nature of functioning without seeking results. And that there were two definitions given for the yoga there. Do people remember? What are the two main definitions was given for yoga so far?
Evenness of mind is yoga,
Ah,
and skill in action.
skill in action. So what are the, anybody remembers the Sanskrit phrases for that?
Samatvam yoga uchyate.
Samatvam yoga uchyate. Then one more.
Yoga karmasu kaushalam.
Kaushalam.
Very good. Yoga karma kaushalam. That is very good. So these are the two definitions that was given, and we can also extend it to general definition for yoga, but more specifically here for karma yoga. So the ability to work with evenness of mind, especially in not being focused on the results, and that having that skill. What is that skill here? No, that skill here is mainly this one, where we are not focused on the results. And if you want to extend it, you know how these days we talk about when you make it like practice, what does it become? It is like you are focused on this present. You're not thinking about the future, what you will get out of it. Or if you have failed in the past, that also you will not think. So you will just be focused on the present. See, this is also why, this is a very widely applicable thing. You think of people in work, like if a pilot, if there is some danger and if the pilot gets too caught up with what will happen and all that, then he'll not be able to navigate properly, right? And similarly, if he's a surgeon, he's doing surgery, and if he's too worried about what will happen to the patient, or if he's too attached that he does want to be successful, then he will not be able to function skillfully. He will not be able to be focused in that present, and nor will he be able to work towards a efficient working. So this is very practical in our life. That's ability where you're not focused on the results. So there is usually, a lot of debate on this. If we talk to normal people, they say, you cannot function without a clear motivation in mind. So this is a constant debate. People say if there is no end result, no motivation, nobody to praise me, nobody to say that I did well or I'm going to gain something, then I will not do it. Nobody will be motivated to do this. So yeah, if a person who is just like based, not mentally mature or not having proper understanding, for them generally they need a motivation. But for a spiritual sadhaka, the duty itself is the motivation. What duties they have to do, that itself is a motivation, because you realize that you are more interested in that state of mind, not at what I will get at the end of it. So every day, every moment, we are working on maintaining that even state of mind, because that is also the most stress-free and peaceful state of mind for us. So we can actually function more effectively. So this is the myth that people have. So those of them who know, like if you, these days, a lot of research are on that. People have written books how, if you're focused just on your actions, your duty at that moment, being in that moment, focused at that moment, what you have to do, then you are able to function most effectively. So for long-term purposes, we can have goals, vision, and all that. But for the present moment, we should never be thinking about that goals, what we are wanting to do. Now, the goals are there just to give us a direction which way we want to move. And with the understanding and spiritual maturity, even that worldly goals is not the purpose. That constant practice of maintaining that evenness of mind and that state of mind which is filled with wisdom. So if you want to put it like, in a very simple way, that karma yoga is that state of functioning effectively, being in that present moment, functioning effectively with that wisdom of being free from seeking results. Of course, that is constant contemplation, which allows it to become which allows it to become a wisdom and a practice. So we need to contemplate in our daily life and ask ourselves, today was I focused on what I have to do, or was I focused on the results? So that is a constant question we can ask ourselves. Okay, now moving further from there, the Lord has already introduced to us the next topic. What is that thing? He's saying if a person has not resolved the Shastras or the Shravana or whatever is his source of knowledge, if he has not cleared the doubts, ideally we say in our sadhana, how do you become clear from doubts? How do you become resolute in knowledge? So one is repeated shravanam. So like even for Gita and all that, sometimes just one time we hear Gita, it is not enough also. Of course, if we hear properly one time with proper focus and attention, that itself is going to go a long way for us. But sometimes we have to repeatedly listen and most importantly do mananam, which we are also trying to do, contemplation on all of that. And lastly, meditate also. Meditate in the terms of resolving it, what is certain. Okay, then one who has done that, the Lord says the one who has done that, what happens? They have resolved and their knowledge is nischala and achala. Nischala is immovable. Achala meaning it is resolved, it is determined, it has become firm. So this is basically, then that person is clear on that path to moksha. As one gets purification of mind, what happens? You get a sense of inward mind that is focused, and outwardly we are not so attached to what happens. We don't get too shaken up with outward worldly things. So we have to ask ourselves, if daily experiences are mentally shaking us up, then you know that mind is not completely resolved. It has not. It still has lot of attachment with the worldly things. So the more we are attached with the worldly things, the less we'll be able to function world-wise also. Because the mind doesn't have that freedom. So, with a pure detached intellect, that person gets the glimpse of reality, that glimpse of the truth. There is a very famous shloka. It says, Vidyate hridaya granthi, chidyante sarva samshayaha, kshiyante chasya karmani, tasmin drishte paravare. All the knots of the heart, mainly that nadis and all that, where our sense of body identification, erroneous notion are there. So those fall up, the knots are broken. Chidyante sarva samshaya, all the doubts are resolved through repeated knowledge, repeated understanding, that all doubts of worldly things, what is the nature of the world, who am I, what is the nature of the supreme reality, so all that gets resolved. Chidyante sarvasha kshiyante chasya karmani, then you don't really have anything to achieve in the world. All the tasks, we are constantly, we have our to-do list, I want to do this, I want to do that, and our what they call the bucket list, right? If only I can get there, do that. So all that is achieved at that point, because that supreme reality is glimpsed. You realize the true nature of reality. So that is the thing, and of course, stabilizing in that, and that is the next part of the teaching that is coming. So now, in that shloka 53, the Lord mentions the word samadhi. The one who has resolved this goes into samadhi. So there it was mentioned. Here that samadhi is not that yogic samadhi. Here that samadhi is abiding in the self, abiding in the true nature of reality. So, meaning that one realizes the true reality, and through intellectual understanding and through the the heart, all the resolute faith of the heart learns to abide in that. So that is that state of that samadhi there. So Arjuna has an idea about this. Arjuna has heard about this. And so he asks this question now. The question is using a word, and this word is a very oft quoted. So especially in the Gita Shastra, this word represents that state of somebody who is self-realized or God realized, who has realized the nature of ultimate truth. So, what is his state? Arjuna's question will come on that. So, this word Stitaprajna, it is that state of what we call somebody who is freed, who is completely realized, Jivan Mukta, otherwise, that in this life itself he is free. While living in this world, he has realized that ultimate truth. There is no bondage for him or her. But of course, he still have his life will go on as his karmas are there, and also so for others, But that bondage is broken forever, which is the goal for all of us. All of us are ultimately in pursuit of this state. So this question now Arjuna is bringing. This is one of the most profound questions Arjuna asks of all that he will ask. So let us look at this together. Okay. So you all can repeat this shloka after me. Arjuna uvacha.
Arjuna uvacha
Stitaprajnasya ka bhasha
Stitaprajnasya ka bhasha
Kabasha
samadhistasya keshava
समाधिस्यस्य केशव
स्थितधिकिं प्रभाषेत
स्थितदिक्खिं प्रवशेत्
किमासीत व्रजेत किम्
किमासीत
व्रजेत किम्
श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
प्रजहाति यदा कामान्
प्रजहाति यदा
प्रजहातीयदाकामान्
कामान्
सर्वान् पार्थ मनोगतान्
सर्वान्
पार्थमनोगतान्
पार्थमनोगतान्
आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः
आत्मन्नैवात्मना
आत्मनात्मनस्तः
स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते
स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते
प्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते
दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः
दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः
सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः
सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः
वीतरागभयक्रोधः
वीतरागभयक्रोधः
स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते
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 So now the question Arjuna asked. So this, as we know, Bhagavad Gita is a text of samvada, meaning it is a dialogue between the Lord and the student and disciple. So here the student will have questions in between. So until the beginning part, the student was just expressing his dilemma and he asked for the teaching. So that part was not specifically the teaching. So here now in the discussion, there is Lord has been talking for so long. So now finally Arjuna decides he will ask a question. So what is the question of Arjuna? Stitaprajnasya ka bhasha. So they uses the word Stitaprajna. So first let us look at what this word means. So, okay, or let us first look at the first thing. So, his question is this: that what are the characteristics of a person who is Stitha-prajna? And somebody is absorbed in samadhi. Uh, Regarding such a person who is Stitha-prajna, what is his, how does he talk? How does he sit? How does he walk? So, this is a question that Arjuna is asking. Okay, so now let us go word by word first here, because this word is a very important word, and it is used whenever you study any text. They will refer to this word many times for that state of realization. So what does it mean, the word sthita prajna? So when we say prajna, generally it means knowledge of any kind, especially some kind of an insightful knowledge. But that insight everybody has, right? Every kind of thing, wherever people have some study they have done in any field, they will have some kind of a insight. But what is the insight here? It is not the insight of a worldly level. So this is that insight which Shankaracharya says, Param Brahma Aham Asmi, that supreme self is me. This is the insight that the person, when one person has, that is called the knowledge of a Stritha Prajna. So the Prajna means knowledge, this kind of knowledge, the supreme self knowledge. And that Stitha, it abides in somebody. This knowledge is steadily abiding in somebody, meaning it is been resolved, it is free from doubts, it is free from error, it is unshakable knowledge, what sometimes we also call as faith. But faith can be sometimes untested, right? Like we can have faith because somebody told us that we have not resolved for ourselves. But here it is that faith in that supreme reality through our own direct insight, or through Of course, it initially comes through teachers and teachings, but we have developed this kind of supreme knowledge, Stitha-prajna. So a person who has this knowledge steadfastly in himself, that person is called Stitha-prajna. So again, a person who has this irrevocable, unmovable, unshakable, doubt-free, error-free knowledge, that person is called as Stitha-prajna. So now the question Arjuna asks is, he wants to know what are the characteristics of such a person. Now it is there in all the texts, there, but we want to see somebody, right? So this is the pursuit of every sadhaka. Why do we want the text might be talking about things, but we want to have some glimpse of somebody who is established in this. So this is why, many times there is stories of great saints, right? Biographies and all are written on great people, because we get a glimpse of that, oh, such a person lived, when we hear stories of, in recent times, Ramana Maharshi, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, so they walked in such a state, they lived in such a state that, they were not interested in worldly things. They were abiding in such supreme things. So when we see somebody, when we either see or we hear about it, when we know about somebody like that, then we get to know what is it that we have to work towards. So that is what the purpose is here, There is twofold purpose. One is to know what is the characteristics of such a person. That what is the characteristics of such a realized person is a sadhana for every non-realized person, unrealized person. So this becomes our sadhana to become like that, become like those people. So in most Upanishad texts and all that, we don't have much description of people who have realized. Of course, there are many other texts, what we call the Prakarana Granthas, secondary texts. There many times we hear one is there is a very famous book by Swami Vidyaranya called as Jivan Mukti Viveka. There he talks about a person who's realized what is his state. So that is again not from direct shastras, but it is written by a very realized soul. But at the same time, in the shastras, in Bhagavad Gita alone, we find this kind of a description. So what is that description? So this is what Arjuna is wanting to ask. The characteristics in this, because from a other perspective, we sometimes also say for those who take to the path of Vividesha Sannyasa or the Vanaprastha and all that, those who want to focus completely on spiritual life. So for them, this Vidvat sannyasis means those who are sannyasis by their realization itself. Not necessarily they have to take on sannyasa. They become, they live like a sannyasi. They are almost like, realize that state in there. So they are the goal for all the other sannyasis and vanaprasthis and ultimately all sadhakas also. So, so this is the thing, if somebody who has cultivated that, then what has happened for them, the characteristics become almost like spontaneous. Like, for example, their ability to abide in the truth, their interest in that truth, or there are worldly characteristics, like being, they're more caring, they're more like caring, they're more like, people who are not attached to worldly things, right? So they're willing to give away things also. And they are not so particular about, little things, worldly things. So these are like, they have practiced it. So that is the point, that a person who has practiced it, for them it will become spontaneous. For example, if when you originally try to practice on like a new instrument, let us say a violin or something, so that which you're not going to create good music, right? And in fact, so much like your neighbors, everybody will complain when you start practicing a new instrument. But once you learn how to practice, how you learn, then you're able to create music out of it. So a realized person is like that. There is natural outpouring of spiritual traits, spiritual characters in them. They don't have to strive so much. It has become their swabhava. This is the where we are going. See, a swabhava for most person is their vasanas. But a swabhava of a realized person is all these spiritual qualities, which later on the Lord will talk about. Deva sampatti. They are that is the natural characteristics of that person. Meaning their vasanas are not those our worldly vasanas. Their samskaras and all that is there. They don't have to make an effort. It comes spontaneously to them. So, and then one more point here, Madhvacharya mentions this. The attributes of one who is samadhi, who is in samadhi, in the transcendental kind of samadhi, it's not what is discussed. So the person when he's in that state of samadhi, then only if we are talking, then why would we want to know what he's do? How does he walk? How does he talk? Why that? So if he's in samadhi, then he will not be able. He'll not be walking and talking, right? So here that what is referred to by that samadhi is one who has realized that truth, that ultimate truth. So even though, so for them, their mind is constantly in that samadhi. In that sense, they're able to function as normal people, yet they are anchored in that highest reality. They will work, they will talk, they will eat and everything like normal people. It is not like, they'll always be in that state. Of course, at some point they might have been in that state, but it is not like they'll always be immersed in that. So for that kind of a person, it is mentioned. And here, one thing here, another way to look at it is that one that how is he in that state of samadhi may also be referring to when he's in that absorbed state. But the other three questions are related to how is he when he's a normal person, when his mind is actively functioning, how is he? So again, we will see as we go. The Lord will not answer the questions literally. He takes the spirit of the question, what is the intention in that question, and he will answer based on that. So that is why, like when we also, right, when somebody asks questions, we want to see where they're coming from. We want to know where they're coming from. Sometimes we want to see them too. That is why I also sometimes say, you're asking questions, you have to put your video on. Then what happens, at least I get an idea of what you're asking, or if you're understanding what I'm saying. So that way it is helpful for me and helpful for you also. So similarly, that, the Lord here is taking the spirit of that question. So he will not answer like one by one. How will this person sit? How will this person walk? So he's taking it like, okay, I understand what you want to know is that how does this person live? How does he go about with all his interactions with others? How does he go about in his daily life? Is he just sitting in one place and always absorbed with his eyes closed? Or is he like normal people? Is he transacting? So this is the main question, because see, a saint is, we can say a saint is somebody who is spending a lot of time with puja and his meditation and all that. That is okay. But a saint also has to go about with his activities because he has prarabdha karma. He has to take care of the body, right? So he needs a place to live, he has to eat, he has to go about with his activities. He can't always be sitting in one place, right? For a particular sadhana, for a particular time, he or she might be sitting in a place. But a normal realized person, whom we call as a jnani, a self-realized sage, he is also transacting in the world. He is also interacting in the world. You see all these people like Vivekananda and Shankaracharya, they did so much work. Buddha attained realization at the age of around 36. And then until the age of 40, he was busy teaching. He was going from one place to another. So all these people were not always sitting. They were also acting, they were also teaching. So that is the, what the question is. So the Lord focuses more on a state of mind rather than what he is doing physically. So physically, he may be doing whatever he is doing. But what is his state of mind when he is doing what he is doing? What state of mind is he in? Or more importantly, what is the state of his wisdom? Based on what state of wisdom is he anchored when he is going about in his life? Okay, now that is the first question. So the second, the next shloka, there he talks about the one of the first characteristics, one of the most important mental state or the nature of their understanding of a realized sage. What is it? He says, Prajahati yada kaman. That desires. What are the desires? We will look at it. There are Veda talks about three kinds of desires. These three desires primarily he has given up. Prajahati yadan kaman sarvan. All desires which come in this category, he has renounced this. Manogatan atmani eva atmanah tushtaha. So if he has given up all the desires, is he like, as Shankaracharya asks, is he behaving like a lunatic or a drunkard? Because if you don't have any desires, anything to work, are you just like a mad person, just going one place, or like a drunkard who doesn't has sense what is happening, he's just moving around? Is he like that? No, he is established in this proper mental state, but more importantly, he is contained, he is happy within his own self. Meaning his mind is anchored within its own self itself. Atmani eva tushtaha. So this word, which he has used in this, um, it's a very useful word. Um, See, he says, Atman eva atmanah tushtaha. So, Atmani means like in the self, alone. That self is content in the self alone. Tushtaha means content. So only in the self alone the self is content, meaning I am content in myself only. So see, why is this given importance here? Why couldn't he say that, he has given up all desires and he is happy? He could have said that. But the problem is that state of desires, the desires are ever hidden in the mind, right? So they will always keep erupting. So when a desire comes, even in the mind of a realized sage, that purva samskaras are there, right? So the desire will come. But what happens? He will not follow up with that desire. So this is a fundamental difference in how we should practice, It is not like, today I studied Gita, from tomorrow I should not have desires. It's not like that. It will keep coming because you had a past. You have conditioned the mind in the past like that. So if you are, if you have a strong desire to indulge in something that is not helpful for you, physically, mentally, spiritually, then, how do you work with that? The desire will come. But the idea is when they come, you should be so anchored in that reality that you will not follow up with that. How do you not follow up with that? So that is the where the teaching is given. There are, according to Patanjali Yoga Sutras, there are 5 kind of vrittis, 5 kind of mental modifications that keeps arising all the time. Anybody familiar? What are the 5 vrittis? Okay, so this was mentioned in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So there it was mentioned. There is the first is pramana. Like when I see something, through my eyes, that knowledge will come to me. That this thing I'm seeing is a chair or a person or an apple or whatever. So I have to use the proper means, and then I'll get the proper thought. But if I'm using my ears to figure out what is it that is in front of me, then it is not proper. It can be vikalpa. Vikalpa meaning it is distorted, or it is vikalpa is more like a imagination, or viparyaya, or a wrong understanding. You may guess wrongly. You may not know because you're not using the right means. Then there is also other thing which is smriti. I have a memory, that also is a thought. Like if I see something and somebody, and that person I've seen him before, and when I met him the first time, somebody introduced, or he introduced himself with a specific name. Now when I see this person again, I remember, so this person is that. So that is a smriti, right? So that is also a thought. That memory is also like a thought that comes in the mind. And there is nidra. Nidra is also a thought. Even in deep sleep, in deep sleep. Does anybody know? Do we have any kind of thought in deep sleep? Can anybody guess? Is there any thought in deep sleep?
No.
Huh.
The absence of thoughts is in itself a modification also.
Yeah. So what is the thought which is there in sleep then? What is the thought we can call?
Dream.
No, dream is different. Dream is a different state by itself. There you are having thoughts. I'm saying when you're in deep sleep. When you are not dreaming, nor are you awake. In that state also there is a thought. So as he said, it is one of the thoughts in deep sleep. It's called as ajnana vritti. Not knowing anything. That also is a thought. So that constant thought of not knowing something is constantly going on. And in Vedanta, they say there are 2 more thoughts also. One is that asmi thought, aham asmi. I am also thought is going on. That I am not knowing, that thought is coming. So not knowing, I am not knowing, that thought is also kind of constantly there. There is also kind of one more thought fluctuation, that is that sukhakara vritti. We enjoy a kind of bliss. So that bliss also is a thought. So this is of course more like very deep analysis, but we can just take it simply that there is a thought of not knowing anything. That is a nidra thought. So these are the thoughts that is constantly in a person's mind, and whenever there are these thoughts, there will be desires. Desires will always keep coming whenever there is some thought in the mind. But how is it that this person has become content? How is this person resolved this? Is that once he realizes that self, What is it that if when he realizes the self, it is not like knowing another object. Like I know that uh, there is this universe, or I know from science something, that some deep reality. So that will not help us to be happy. How do we stop pursuing the desires is that when I realize that self, I should also get that understanding that all the happiness I seek is in the self. See, then only we will stop looking outward. We will stop pursuing objects outwardly when I realize that the happiness is in myself and that self that I'm seeking is complete. This is a fundamental teaching, that in that self is that ananda, that paramananda, that supreme happiness, and in that self is the purnatva, that completeness. That mantra we say in the end, purnamidam purnamada, purnat purnamadasya mudasyate, purnasya purnamadaya purnameva vashishyate. So when that completeness, if you cannot take out that anything, even if you take out anything, it will remain complete. Where is this state of completeness? Is it in somewhere else? Can you think that you take off something and it will remain complete? No, it will become incomplete. In every objective things, it will become incomplete. It's only in that subjective thing that that if your attention goes outward also, you still remain inwardly as that self. So that completeness we are seeking, it is not by, this is also where, as we come, of course, there's nothing wrong in having partners and all that, but the idea is that even in you, when you have somebody as your partner in life, they cannot complete you. This is that completeness is not found with somebody else, that completeness is found within oneself only. That some person might help you to realize your completeness, especially that that person is a guru or or of course a spiritual companion, but that completeness that we are seeking can only be found within ourselves, because that pure unaltered that pure bliss, that pure joy, that is only possible within oneself. So that is why he's saying, how is this person free from desires? Because he has found that fountainhead of all joy. When you know the source of where all the joy is coming from. So for us, when we talk about self, we only think, oh, am I talking about the body? How can I be happy within my own body? Or at the most, we think my own mind. How can I be happy within my own mind? So that is again not the proper understanding or insight. So all that is in intellectual imagination, what the self is. The true nature of self is it will completely give us all the fulfillment we seek. So all that requires is the mind, when it gets a thought of happiness in an object, you have to be able to redirect the mind to that place where that source of all joy is found. So this is the only way that we can be happy. Otherwise, what happens that always the mind is subject to ragadvesha. From a worldly and objective point, I want this, I don't want this. So, and symbolic of that ragadvesha is the seeking of three desires. From a worldly from a Vedic perspective, the Vedas they say that humans are driven by three main desires. So these are called, symbolically as putreshana, vitteshana, lokeshana. Putreshana is the desire for children, progeny. Why? Because they will complete you. They will kind of the idea, wrong notion that there will be continuity even if I die, that it will go on. And more importantly, a sense of companionship. in order to get a children, you need a partner, right? So that partner is there, and so that is a desire for having a partner. Otherwise, I'll be lonely, I'll be left alone. So all this is a notion, all based on the worldly instinctive kind of a thing which we never question. So these are the instinctive desires we generate. We never question this. Putreshana, Vitteshana. Vitteshana is the desire for money, wealth. Why? Because they will bring you objects of your desire. What is the use of money and all the possessions? Is they will give you objects, and one after another your mind is, as they say these days, your mind keeps getting that dopamine boost, constant dopamine boost, one after another, so nowadays of course we all get it through our phones and other things, but idea is like anything outwardly, in the world or in the people or in the phone, they are giving you constant boost, but every time they're pulling you down, down, down. You want more and more to get to that same level of happiness. And this is that basis psychology of addiction, right? Because we don't know where to look for that happiness. We are looking at the wrong place. And then location is put in a basic practical way. It is the fame that we need. We want to have recognition, fame. And ideally, from a Vedic thing, it is the fame in other worlds also. You want to be known in other worlds, or even after you die, the other world you go, you need recognition there. You want to have recognition in the other worlds. All the locus, location, I mean, all the different worlds you want to have recognition. You want to be known. So this is again a basic human tendency, that, so there is a very beautiful, it's actually from the Buddhist text, but it is mentioned, there, a real seeker, a real seeker of truth, um, he's not seeking to when he wants to die, he wants to go to some place, and he wants to, even if nobody cares for him, nobody looks after him, he's happy, he's okay with that, and he gives willing to give up his body there. So it is almost like an antithesis. We all think that when I die, I want to be surrounded with people, I want to always have people caring for me, I want the best hospital kind of thing. So all insurance and all are promising us that, but a real sadhaka's perspective, he gives that when I want to die, I want to go to a lonely place where nobody knows me, nobody will look after me, and I'm yet happy, and I give up my body like that. So that is a sign of a man who is firm in that knowledge, that realization. He doesn't care about it. Okay, so that is the three ashanas. Ashanas meaning desires, the natural instinctive desires hidden in everybody, and overcoming those desires. That is the purpose, and in that state, Kathopanishad, those who studied, we know this mantra had come. Yada sarvan pramuchyante kaman yesya hridis shritaha. Atha mrityo mrito bhavati atra brahma samashnute. When all the desires that dwell in this heart, these worldly desires, they fall away, then that mortal becomes immortal. Because you realize that self, meaning you're not seeking anymore the worldly desires. Of course, there is a little bit of caveat for that. How do we function in the world when we don't have this? But I will leave it at this. You all can think about it also. Okay, and any questions people have, we can take up for now. Any comments also people want to make?
Swami,
Yeah, Lavia.
I was thinking, for example, about desires. When we are not free from desires, maybe it helps when we feel the desire that we can discern. Is it good for me? Is it not good for me?
Right.
A little bit, not just go, but try to think a little bit about it.
Yeah. So basically, if you look at it, there are Bhagavad Gita is not saying completely to give up like practical desires. So there are actually two kinds that the Gita is talking. One is the binding desires. There are those desires which are which form a bondage. So, for example, like if you are hankering for some kind of a position, and that position is very difficult or very complex for you. You're not able to function, do your other jobs also. So there are some people like this, they say that unless I get that job, I will not do any other job. So see, that is a binding kind of desires. It cripples you. So the desires you are allowed, there are some desires you're allowed to have. So those are the desires that, as you said, you have to discern. Are these desires worth? And the ideal way to do it is to think in long term, always. So the ability to discern is at least to ask ourselves, will this desire help me in the long term? Some petty little desires which are non-binding. Sometimes you can do one time and be done with it. Otherwise, keep thinking about, like, if you feel the urge somewhere and say, okay, I want to have this specific food, that food. It's okay. But if you're again every day again wanting and having that, then that becomes a binding desire. So that way we have to discern what are the desires that are worth doing. So ideally, our desires are the desires to fulfill duties, our desire to the well-being of others, and of course, those which for my own basic needs. We all need a place to live, a livelihood. So all that is okay. It is almost like our duty to life, to do those things. But those which are obsessive, those which are mentally burdensome, those which are binding, those are the desires which we have to be, as you use the correct word, discern about. To be discernful about them.
Yeah, because it's really difficult to suppress, and suppress is also not good.
Correct. Yeah. So that is the idea. Actually, that is the point I was trying to say. Here he is not talking about suppression. It is more like what we use the word as transmutation. See, suppression is one thing and transmutation is another thing. So when you have the proper knowledge, then that same energy that you would otherwise use in doing the desires, you use this towards another purpose. So it is not like suppressing it, but it is channeling it into a higher purpose, different way. Yeah, it's a good question. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, and most importantly, it's to understand between sakama and nishkama. This is also a very fundamental point. You see that word karma is there in both. What is the difference between sakama and nishkama? Anybody?
Selfish and selfless.
Simply put, it's that way. But when we say sakama, it is desire for with a sense of doership, sense that I am doing it. That is mostly sakama kind of thing. I am the one who is doing it. I will achieve this. I will kind of, make this happen. So that is a very sakama desire. So nishkama desire is one where that sense of kartrutva, that sense of doership is not in the ego. Yet you have the confidence to do what you have to do. It's not like that I don't have doership means I don't have confidence. I still have the confidence in what I want to do, but it is not an egoistic thing that I did this or I am doing it or my way is the right way. See, the most problems you see in companies, in wherever groups, right, is that we hold on to that sense of I into worship. That is a bondage, and that causes a lot of problems for us. And in fact, if you look at an organization, the person who is admired, a person who is respected, is the one who is not carrying this heavy sense of doership. He's able to function, he or she is able to function in a very light way. You don't even know they did it, but yet everybody realizes without them it will be very difficult to function. The normal example is given of a mother, in a house, especially when you look at some traditional families and all that. So the mother of that house just does her duty to care for everybody. It is not like she's claiming, I am doing this, I am doing that. Without me, my child will die. She does it out of her sense of duty. But yet, everybody know, nobody kind of, she never asserts that I'm doing it. But yet, without her, a lot of things will not go that smoothly in the house, So that is one of the close examples for Nishkama karma. Okay.
Swamiji,
Yeah, Karthik.
Nishkama karma, the result is there's no result. There is a purification of the mind. Is that right?
Actually, there is result. See, every action will have a result. But when you do it with a proper Nishkama Bhava, you're not focused on the result. So that is why it is said that result that you can expect as a sadhaka is Chitta Shuddhi from there, meaning the purification of the mind. That you can expect because that is part of your sadhana to get to purification of mind. So that is okay. So that is, as I told you all last time, why will we still pray if we know that, that prayer is another form of ritual? Why will we do all the japa, puja and all that? Because we do it because we know we want Chitta Shuddhi. We are not praying because that the Lord will give me some special benefits. But at the same time, it is true that when you do pray, you do get Lord's blessings. It is not like you're not getting blessings. But that is not in your mind, that you're not keeping that as the, what you call like as the, the,
Like an intention.
like an intention, yeah. So this art of Nishkama karma, so that is actually the skill he is talking about. When he say, yoga karma shu kausalam, the skill is that act of doing without doership, that Nishkama bhava. So of course for translation purposes, we say selfless action. But what is really meant is that that action without a sense of doership. Okay, so there are some Mananam questions for that Stitaprajna questions that he asked. So Karthika will share that, and we will look at it in the next class also. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, Anybody has any questions you want